what heights we'll hit. On with the show, this is it.
On with the show, this is it. Hey, it's Wednesday, it's 5:30-ish, 5:32 on the big TikTok, the digital TikTok. You good?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Tracy. It's it's REALTOWN with John and Tracy and special guest star Frank Cicino.
Hello. Static.
What is up? How's everybody doing?
I got static.
You got static?
Yeah.
You
In
should
my
use that
headphone.
static guard in the can, you know, because it'll stop you.
Static
If you do.
guard.
Yeah.
Oh, there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gino's over there tweaking the thing and thinking to tweak.
Yeah. No, it's good. I'm gonna talk.
I like it. It's
beautiful.
good.
I like it. It's good.
Well, look out.
Look out.
Would you like to continue with the show, OJ? I would love to.
Oh.
You all right?
Yeah. I don't know. Some weird.
Might be the headphones. Just get another set.
Are
As
we
long
out?
as you can you hear me? All right. As long as you can hear me, that's all that matters. I don't need the head. Do I need the headphones? Really?
Did you want the headphones? Use the headphones.
don't
If you don't
know.
want the headphones,
I
don't
don't
use the
know anymore.
headphones.
I don't know anymore.
It's the 7th of November.
Yes.
Yeah. We got a whole theme tonight, a whole scene. It's our salute to veterans tonight. And we've got some folks going to be dialing in and talking with us. And feel free to give us a buzz. Lord knows we could use one, 609-807-2492. We're doing our Veterans Day salute.
Yay!
Once again,
I
because-
love the veterans.
because
I
it's-
love the veterans.
The 11th is Veterans Day, which is Sunday. So,
Yeah.
to do it next week on the 14th is kind of like celebrating your birthday like 3 days later.
Yeah,
so,
who does that,
we'll do it beforehand, which is nice. The day after the big doings yesterday, what's his name? That Bozo O'Rourke, he lost in Texas.
Yes, don't call him a name.
What-
First of all,
isn't that his name?
Are we not
Listen.
talking politics tonight?
No,
No, just-
I am going to say something quick though.
Okay.
He and this I understand. He was in. Let's be honest. Ted Cruz is a dink. I mean, he is a dink. I mean, Republican or Dem, even if he was just, I don't even care what party he's with, he's still kind of a dink. And I have reasons to think that way. But either way, the problem is that there was no way that Beto could have won in Texas.
Bozo? What?
No way he could have won in Texas because Texas.
No. I don't.
Texas is an extremely Republican state. They would rather take Ted Cruz than him.
Well,
That's how it's the lesser of two evils
But it
to
was
them. 'Cause
closer
they didn't
than-
like him either.
it was
They were
closer
close.
than what they
but
thought.
that's why.
Well,
Because
why?
a lot of people don't like Ted Cruz.
I understand, but
That's why.
the other reason why it's closer than what they thought it was going to be with Bozo O'Rourke and Ted what's his futz is I don't know, whatever his name is, Ted Cruz, Tom Cruise, Tom Hanks, Tom whatever his name is,
Oh, boy.
is because now you got a lot of people relocating from these bastions of ridiculousness like California and New York and even Florida, who are not there, relocating to Texas because Texas is pretty cool. I mean, they've got
No,
Guns.
No.
yeah, but no, it's a fine place. I mean, everybody else
I've
is,
been to Texas.
is talking about curtailing guns. They've got
They
an express
teach
lane.
animals like crap there. They have like the worst when it comes to animals. So me and my animals.
I understand, but I mean, I've been there and I enjoyed my time. there.
I've been there too.
It is
Well,
whatever.
listen, they have good steak, even though I don't eat steak anymore. But at the time when I ate steak, it
Oh,
was pretty
boy.
darn good.
At the stockyards,
They have good
Fort Worth.
Tex-Mex. Good Tex-Mex.
Yeah.
And they love their college football.
True enough.
Yeah,
they love the
sure.
football
High
and-
school,
That's-
college, doesn't matter what
Yeah, that's
level
true. High
it is.
school too. High school too. That's true.
Pop Warner.
Well, when I was there was a big college football game at the time, and it was insanity. So that's what stuck in my head.
Well,
That's
let me
what
tell you
There's
something.
a high school in Texas that has a $4 million stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, they don't mess
Are
around.
you kidding?
They don't mess
like
around.
It seats 20,000
They
people.
don't mess around.
Let
with
me tell you
their
about
sports.
football down in Texas too. Out in the
My football's down in Texas.
out in West Texas, when there's not a whole lot of population, they don't have a lot of kids at school. So they don't have 11 on 11. They have 5 on 5. Okay, you think what we do out of here, 8 on 8, is quick and fast. They got 5 on 5 out there because it's either that or nothing. And they are so rabid. A, they have that, and B, everybody from all these little towns, hamlets, burgs, and villages from West Texas, they go to these things and they support them like nobody's business. And for what they are too, they're little palaces as well. Whether it's 5-man high school, 11-man high school, I have to think even semi-pro, certainly college, and
Sure.
and certainly, pardon me, the professional level. They're just a bunch of rabid dogs about all that. I mean, listen, Texas, New Jersey, California, New York, Florida, wherever. There's good and bad everywhere. You mean
The best thing about the elections for me,
is it the Rover?
I'll tell you the best thing.
Go ahead. Bozo O'Rourke
The best
lost.
thing, that's for you. The best thing
everybody.
is the fact that Dennis Hoff won
Yes.
for his party, and he's dead.
That
and
is
he's
true.
dead. And he's been dead since October.
I was going to say over a month now.
Oh, it's been a month.
I was
Yeah.
going to say he assumed
He's
room
dead.
temperature about 3 weeks ago, and he
Now,
not
that
wait,
is
wait.
the-
Not only did he win, mind you,
Yes.
he won in a here's the
Landslide.
word landslide.
Yes.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So
Just
they would rather pick a dead body
dead guy.
over a live person.
I would
What
do
does
that for
say
everybody in
Nevada?
Congress. I don't care what side they're on. I would take a dead person
Yeah.
rather than them.
Yeah, what would that say about Nevada? That and the thing is,
Nevada.
I read this that next to it said in brackets because you can't remove. It's like a Nevada thing. You can't remove someone off the ballot even if they pass.
Right.
Right.
And it said in brackets deceased.
Right.
Next to it.
Right.
Didn't matter.
So it's right there. No,
Don't matter. He's dead.
We're voting to the.
We're not on
He's-
Facebook.
I was just going to say I don't know if we got that.
We're not live
right.
on Facebook.
No, not
Nope.
seen it. No. Sorry, I'm on
What's
my.
up with that?
No.
What's up with that?
help
What's
out,
up with that?
GDO.
Here's my political
Go ahead.
outcome from yesterday.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody in this country is an idiot.
There's a lot of
it was,
idiots.
it was 50-50.
Here's
down
the thing,
line,
right?
man.
So
Crazy.
I knew this was gonna happen. This was a guarantee, right? Both sides claim victory.
Yes, they
You knew that was,
50-50.
no matter what.
Did you
no,
look?
Listen, it could have been a landslide either way.
Yeah.
They were both going to claim victory,
Correct,
right?
yeah.
So that's number one. Number two, New Jersey's a blue state. It's been a blue state. It's always going to be a blue
Correct.
state. It's just the way it is.
Yeah,
All these people in New Jersey are like, oh my God, look at the blue wave. I'm like,
it's always
No.
been there. Yeah.
it's like low tide in Jersey.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like
The blue's
Massachusetts.
always
it's like
there.
Massachusetts.
But they're
Massachusetts always
screaming-
been blue, always will be blue. That's
And
just-
then they're like, now we can impeach the president. We have the House.
No, you really
You don't- they don't have the
But
House.
You have
It
bigger
doesn't.
fish to
The
fry.
Democrats have the House.
oh, I thought it was
No, the Democrats
Republicans
don't
have Congress.
have
No,
Congress.
not this-
That's
no.
what I'm
Democrats
saying.
have the House.
Democrats have the House.
Stop.
Congress, right.
Congress is the House of Representatives and the Senate.
Right.
Democrats have the House.
Thank you.
Republicans have the Senate.
Right.
So
That's what he was saying.
right.
No, he said
I
Congress.
said Congress.
Oh,
But the point is that
Dang.
the House can now say yes, we want to impeach him,
Right.
and it has to go to Congress, and then Congress does their due diligence and says, no, we're not going to impeach
No,
him.
we're
Right.
good. Thanks.
So what's
But they're all screaming and hollering, we can impeach him now.
No,
and that's
This is
only-
what I'm.
not
But this is
everybody's-
what I'm saying. These
Yeah.
are the stupid people that are out there. I don't
Yeah.
care what side you're for. I'm just saying it's stupid.
My
The
thing
whole
is this.
thing is stupid.
My thing is this. I'm kind of glad it went down the middle. I mean, you know what? And I'm a Democrat.
Of
and I'm going
course.
to tell you why. I think it's healthy to have. We're a divided country right now.
Mm-hmm.
And hence, it's divided in that respect as well. And there's a reason for that. And I think it's important to have an equal say on both sides. And I'm all for it. I think that's what you need to do. And I'm sure my Democratic friends will be mad about me saying that. But
No,
I think it's, there's a couple that I was like, come on, but the majority, it is what it is, man. I mean,
Hey, it's that time. I think we've got our first phone call.
we do.
Who's on the line? Hello, welcome to REALTOwn. What's up?
Who that is?
Johnny T and Tracy favorite radios. How are you
What
doing?
is
Chris
up?
Jackson, how's
Chris
everybody?
Jackson.
What is up, C. Jax? How's it going, man?
Hey man, everything's going good, man. I just got in, and we're trying to broadcast this radio station here over the wild word. What is it? Internet.
On the
Mr. Al
the thing
Gore's
called the
Good old
internet.
Al Gore's internet.
You're right.
the,
right.
the World Wide Web, I
The
think is what he
web?
was looking for.
Right.
Oh, like the way they
Yeah,
like
that
to
was
call
the-
it a global,
that was the
the extranet,
The extranet.
which is really not a word
It's
anymore.
not,
But we'll
it's
just
not. And it's been around since 1969, and that was not Al Gore. But I don't know what to tell you. I'm being beckoned by the by.
Tracy.
Oh, hang
You
on,
need me?
hang on. Yeah, okay.
Oh.
Someone,
Hold on.
Here we go. It's everybody's in demand. So, Chris, tell us what's first of all going on with you, and before that, first and foremost, knowing that you are a military veteran of the United States Marine Corps, correct?
That is correct, Mr. Johnny T.
Well, and I'm going to speak for us all in thanking you for being a part of the United States Marine Corps and the military service that you are a part of, have been a part of, and so forth. That means the world. It means the world. It really does.
Where did you serve in your time in the military?
A few different places. I was in Kings Bay, Georgia for a little bit, and then off in and out of Florida and pretty much the East Coast, and then had the pleasure of going out with some really good servicemen and women overseas for a couple of tours. But
awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty much my bag.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your service.
And
No, I appreciate it. This is Frank.
Yes.
Frank, well, I appreciate your service, sir.
Well, thank you.
So how's everybody doing on this election, post-election day?
We were just discussing that, and basically, and I'm of a similar opinion too. It's no secret the side that I lean toward, or the side that Tracy leans toward, which are opposite. Tracy leans toward the Democrats. I lean toward the Republicans, conservative versus the liberal. But my whole thing has always been, I don't paint myself into a corner. I just don't. Okay, there are a lot of things that, believe it or not, I'm okay with that go the opposite direction of my proclivities. Now, that having been said, yesterday, and we were just talking about this, that yesterday, to me, and I've said this before, this is what I was just going to say about your musings, Tracy, is yesterday to me was kind of like a Breyer's ice cream or a Baskin and Robbins ice
Vanilla
cream
and
moment.
chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's got different tastes. So you know what? Baskin and Robbins, they make 31 flavors, not just one, but God bless, but 31.
Sorry.
But 31, And if we can combine them all to where they can be on the menu together and really enhance one another, boy, are we on to something. That's the challenge, however, but that's also the blessing.
Well, I agree with that, John. But I think the problem really is about communication and having dialogue. Very few people can have open dialogue in a constructive and positive manner without then, learn the party line, so-called loyalty.
This
Once
is
you
true.
do that, then you have arguments and all that other stuff.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, it's
100% correct.
It's all right to disagree. I mean, my gosh. I mean, it just is what it is. I had a disagreement today with a colleague, and 5 minutes later, I was asking them for some assistance with something at work that I am not as well
I
versed
wonder who that was.
Gary Shuck.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
He's into
You
local
don't have to say.
politics. He's very
Yeah,
much
he is.
into, aware of.
Hey,
and-
Johnny, did you hear the bus? The bus just backed over real quick. I heard the bus in the background. I had to point that out.
I don't.
I didn't expect him to say the name.
I don't know
No, I
what you're-
didn't.
No, but he's got valid points. Here, this is my point. He's got valid points. He's got a valid take.
Right.
He's got a
And
valid
And
opinion.
you still like Gary.
He's a friend.
And he's
a
still
co-
your friend.
Absolutely.
And that's the main thing. And that's what Chris and I and Mr. Jellyman, where's Scott Jellyman? I love him. So that's what we discussed on Chris's show, Head to Head podcast, amazing podcast, Head to Head.
Oh, yeah.
But this is what we discussed was, you know what? You can disagree. You can have different opinions. I can disagree with John. John can disagree with me, but I still love John. My respect for John and my love for John stays the same. It doesn't matter what he believes or what he agrees with, what I don't agree with. It's all about mutual respect. It's the people that are opposing who put you down and say nasty things to you and discredit you, call you unintelligent. That doesn't fly with me.
No.
It doesn't fly with me. And people who do that, I don't care what party you were in, that you don't do that. It's about mutual respect and caring about each other, and that's the main thing to me.
I agree. I mean, what do you think, Chris? I mean, to me, we can have our discussion and know that sometimes, somebody's going to say black and the other guy's going to say white. But you know what? It's all a nice, decent color. To me, Tracy's coming from the perspective of wanting good things for all of us. I'm coming from a perspective of wanting good things for all of us. Frank is doing the same. Chris, you're doing the same. Our friend, our colleague Scott, who I think we're going to have on as well right now, if we can finagle that. Hi, you're on the air. Who's this? Are you there? Caller number 2?
I'm here.
Chris, you still there, pal?
I'm here, Johnny.
All right.
Okay, Chris
Who's
is-
next? Scott, is that you?
Who's that? Oh, now it's
Coach
Evans, I was just going to say, he
man.
just chimed in on the comments.
Yes, he did. Hiya, Coach.
I think you don't like that.
You can't even disguise yourself anymore, Coach.
I know his. I don't even know him, and I knew his laugh.
We've got two outstanding, out bleeping standing. Thank you, Coach. Veterans on the line. Mr. Chris Jackson and Coach Evans on the line. Guys, again, huge buckets, baskets, vats of thank yous for all that you have been a part of through the years where the military service is concerned.
Can I just say, as an outside party, and I have not served, but I can say that men who serve are so hot, like so hot. Women are hot too, but I mean, from a woman's perspective, the men are just hot.
I
I
understand.
think it's a beautiful thing. I think it's a
understand.
gorgeous, beautiful thing. Just want to throw that in there.
There you
That's
go.
all.
Seriously, I'm gonna tell you, you never met me, so I don't know how hot you would call me.
You're hot, Coach. It's all right.
It's more of
John,
a
well,
it's more of a very warm sizzle. What?
Tepid.
That's Frank
I'm not
Cicino,
going
care.
there, John. I'm not going there.
But good
And
things.
who do we have on the line also?
Oh, we have Chris Jackson, a former colleague of ours here in New Jersey, who is a member of the United States Marine Corps.
Ah, outstanding, a brother Jarhead.
Yeah, how you doing? Hoorah, simplified, sir.
I hear you, brother. I'm a bullet head. Ooh-ah.
Attaboy. But yeah, John, getting back to your point, with having the dialogue, the black and the white, at the end of the day, people need to have open discussion just in life in general, and the problem, and what me and Scott, we obviously have our podcast called Head to Head, and basically what it's aimed to is having these open dialogues. We tailor fit it to our veterans, our current and active duty personnel, and also their families. But we also take into consideration everyday life, and we try to bring resources and having open dialogues with different guests from a plethora of different backgrounds and experiences and things of that nature to bring different kinds of awareness and give out resources to our brothers and sisters who have fought the good fight, or even, just our brother and sister human beings, for God's sakes,
Of course.
that just are lost or don't have the resources or too scared to ask or too bashful to ask or too prideful to ask. Because open dialogue is something that's lost in this country because everybody's too worried about hitting the blue button as opposed to the red button.
I
But whatever
agree.
button that you
Exactly.
I think that's a lost thing, is having open, formidable, educational conversation. Me and Tracy can agree to disagree on a lot of stuff, but as long as I know what Tracy's talking about and I know where she's coming from, then I can approach her differently.
Of
as
course.
I may be able to approach you differently, John, with different aspects of things.
Absolutely.
Just having that mutual respect as human beings. That's really the lost art here in 2018 that I think this country has lost. But I'll digress on that part of it.
It's funny because I think that goes all the way up to the top. I mean, that's not just the people of this country; it's the senators and all the politicians themselves have the same problem, and that's part of the issue.
Correct.
Well,
Well, Frank, I'm going to weigh you in on this a little bit.
sure, please.
Thinking about the difference in what a military man or woman looks at as to politics, as to civilians. We protect everything that the United States has ever brought forward to all people in the United States. We protect and we serve proudly until our last breath. Whereas as civilians, you go out and you talk politics and you get into the good, bad, and ugly of politics. We defend it. We defend because whoever the president is, we have our orders, and that's what we do for the rest of our life when we become a military member. I mean,
That's
do
correct.
you agree with me?
Yeah, I 100%. I think that's why military look at things a little bit differently because of the way we live our lives during the military.
I agree.
I
I
agree.
agree. I'm sorry?
I agree with that as well.
Well, the difference is this with the colors. It's just like when you're in the military, you have no colors. You have the color of your uniform.
Right.
That's right.
In civilian life, you have the color of everyone. Now, if anybody crosses over to a red, blue, yellow, whatever it might be, that's their prerogative. That's their freedom to do so. But know what you're talking about. We elect officials to represent us. That's what we do. We vote. That's the big thing about this primary was to vote, and the vote was out there. But once the people that don't vote, then they're the ones that complain about it.
Right.
But yet they don't use their right to do what's right for everybody else around them.
I have to say, Coach, I was extremely honored yesterday to vote. I was able to do it over the midday portion of the day, and it took every minute and a few more of my quote-unquote lunch hour to do it. And you know what? So what? So what? And I got into the polling place and I did my thing. I came out and I just felt good, not knowing who was going to come out on top. And it yes, it matters, but at that fleeting moment, it didn't matter. What did matter was that I did my due.
I did my part.
I did my part.
Sure.
I participated. I'm in. That's what it's all about. That's what all those folks 240 some odd years ago, 230 some odd years ago were ripping and tearing and carrying on about, because they couldn't do it and they needed to. It had to be done. And here we are, and then fast forward, here I am. While I'm not a fellow who served in the military, I had my chances and it just went a different direction. But, as much as I can with uncles and with good friends like the both of you gentlemen and other people, the three of you gentlemen, actually, I should say, I get it. And Frank.
I'm to the side of him. He can't see me,
Special guest star, Frank Cicino. With everybody of that ilk, I like to think, and I really, really, and I hate to say it like this, but this is all that's coming to mind. I like to hope that I get it as much as possible without actually having done it. And Chris, you're exactly correct too, with the dialogue. My grandmother, pardon me, she would be what, 120 some odd years old, 122, I think, if she were still alive. But she was one of the very, very early telephone operators out in Berwick, Pennsylvania. And that was perfect for her because, yes, I've got the gift of gab when I need it or want to. Yes, it's true.
No, I don't believe it.
Baloney.
Yeah.
Show me. I'm from Missouri. Show me.
Yeah, it's true. But she made. But she made me look like an absolute rank amateur, just a piker. She loved to talk to whomever she could talk to, and she was always interested in what folks had to say about whatever it is. And when we would come to visit from New Jersey, she would almost always lament to my mother on our way out the door, "Oh, we really should have had more time to sit and visit." And as a kid, I didn't get that. I didn't understand where she was coming from, because she was, from the time I was born, she was from her very late 60s to her early mid-80s, okay? That's all I had her for those 15 years. And I didn't get it. Yeah. What do I get, as a 7-year-old, as a 9-year-old, as a 15-year-old, about we should sit and visit more? Chris, you nailed it, because that's kind of the thing in her own Grammy way that she meant. It's good to, and I can remember some discussions, and she wasn't one to carry on loudly, but where people were in disagreement, but all of a sudden, man, she smoothed it right out, man. Let's talk about it. And she was fine with that. Where did that go? The hypothetical, the rhetorical question. Where did that go?
Yeah. Well, John, John, I would have to say this is something I learned when I got out of the Marine Corps, and I was born and raised in Virginia, and I moved out to Pennsylvania when I was 13, and I had the pleasure of putting my right hand in the air and swearing in and going on the yellow footprints, and just the whole deal. and actually, what I learned in the Marine Corps that I've taken with me into a sales profession and has made me somewhat successful, I guess, is that you talk to the janitor of a company the same way you would talk to the CEO.
And
or
there
the
you have
president,
it.
whatever title.
Agreed.
Whatever title they want to give themselves, that's fine.
Yeah.
And you talk to your neighbor, and you talk to your neighbor's neighbor, and you talk to the other one. Doesn't matter about what color skin they have, what their sexuality is, what their nationality is, what their religion. All that shouldn't have a concept in your brain when you talk to people. Even if they have no language, there's a language barrier. If you talk to people a certain tone, a certain way, and then here's the key. If you shut your mouth and you actually listen to what then they tell you, and then you process it, you don't have to agree with them, but you have to respect it. And if you can do that, and let's just say if we would do that in 2018 as a civilization, we would be a lot farther ahead than what we think we are.
Absolutely
and that's
right.
really the bottom line.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, we go to the polling booths now because we don't like a certain individual personally. We're not educating
It's a
ourselves
popularity
on
contest.
what.
Yeah.
We're not educating ourselves on what an individual is or isn't doing. It's more now we don't like that person because of, and then X, Y, and Z, whatever it might be, because you read it in some outlet that's pro this, and you read it in an outlet that's anti that, and you're not really fact checking, and that's really what's happening in 2018 moving forward. At least from my perspective, as you know, a 35-year-old with 3 kids and a wife in the suburbs of Bucks County, and then just kind of taking everything in. His bottom line is we're not taking the time to actually shut our mouths and just listening to people, and then going, okay, they have an opinion, just like I have an opinion. They're not right. They're not wrong. I'm not right. I'm not wrong. Let's accept it and respect one another.
There it is.
And let's continue on.
100%. That is exactly right. You nailed it.
Coach, you have been associated with just a big giant variety of people as a coach, and in the Army as well, of course, for a good many years. Care to weigh in on it from where you sit?
Are you saying that I'm the oldest in this group right now? I mean, John.
He is saying that.
I wasn't going even.
There's that bus again.
Even close to that station,
You
but
guys gotta give her that buck, John. that bus is the noise of the bus backing up is echoing in the phone.
Coach, did I tell you how great you look today? By the way, what? No, but you know what I mean. You've had a chance to do a bunch of things. I mean, we're not all that far apart in age, you and myself. But I've gone a different path largely than you have. You've had a different path than Frank and then Chris and then Tracy as well. With all your action, interaction, reaction, and counteraction with people. Yes. What have you learned? What have you done? What have you seen?
Here's the bottom line. I've seen so much in my youth. You're looking at the differences in people all over the world. I've had the pleasure of being all over the world with the military, with football, and meeting a lot of people, talking with a lot of people. As a coach, you do it even more. In the military, you're under, when you're a private going into sergeant and you go through your different ranks, you get to absorb so much. And you retain most of it, but some of it you push aside because some of the people that look at you as they're talking don't exactly know what they're talking about.
Correct.
The people that today, like my Marine buddy said, that they don't get it because the conversation aspect of it isn't there anymore.
Right.
It's the internet. It's being online. It's what is that? Snapchat. It's whatever else. Not face to face. It's not listening and giving. It's understanding what somebody's trying to tell you how they feel about things. From what I've seen over the years, and it's gotten worse since my teenage years when I started realizing this is the real deal. This is the real world. It's gotten worse because of the fact that there's so many people that think they're owed something. In my opinion, now I might be going off to the left a little bit.
No, I understand,
but
Coach.
they think they're owed something.
Sense of
So, having
entitlement.
that said-
Sense of
I'm
entitlement.
sorry. Go ahead.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, continue, please. You're exact. I couldn't agree
We're just
more.
agreeing with you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. There is. There's a lot of people out there that think they're owed something, and the old school of things was that you work when you can to help your family out.
Yeah.
That's the way it was
You
when I
work for it.
That's right.
That's right.
Now, having that said, today, if you don't bring your children up the right way, which I believe that I have, I was blessed. I have, 3 beautiful children, 4 beautiful grandchildren, teaching them the same thing, that the value is of who you are, your character, and building that character up and to be positive for other people and make an impact on other people's lives. It's not about who you are, it's about what you do for somebody else.
Yeah, that's the difference now. It's not that way anymore, and that's the problem too.
You have old school coaches like us that are, in my lifetime now, it's being a grandpa, poppy,
Right.
and being a coach. Of course, full-time husband. But it's seeing these young men that come out to play for you, especially this year, that just don't get it.
Right.
They think that they can miss practices, and
Yep.
because they're studs and they play for somebody else, they could just come in and play. Well, guess what? I just got rid of I don't know how many.
We're right there with you, Coach.
John, you know me. Frank, you know me. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. It's the real deal. It's truth be known. You're very honest. You're being upfront. If you're not going to put in the work, then you're not going to be a part of it.
Right.
I just gave that same speech over the weekend.
Yeah.
Same exact speech.
We just talked about that chapter and verse, Coach. Right down with our new bunch of squirrels that we're trying to mold into some semi-decent football players.
Well, the bottom line is the experience is there with you. So you are giving them what you have. That's what you're there for.
That's right.
Frank, by the way, Frank, I did see your interview with my man.
Yeah. The GFA 360.
Oh, right on. How'd that go?
Yeah.
Good. It was good.
I was
Yeah.
trying to cut in on you, but he wouldn't let me in.
Well,
Oh, really?
Very good. Yeah.
What'd you think, Coach? How'd you think it went? You think I was hitting the nail on the head?
It went well. I think that you did very well, Frank. You did. You are who you are. I know who you are. You know what I mean? I respect that. But for you, I think you should have gotten more into because this is who we are. We're old school. We're old school. We've been around the block.
Right.
We tell like it is, and you should have just came out and say, "Yo, either you want to." I can't curse on air, right?
Hey, Coach.
Sure you can.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Let it rip.
you might get kicked off Facebook, though.
Well, I won't do that. Though. You either want to come out and you freaking want to play for this team. I'm sorry. What's the name of your team again? I'm sorry, I forgot.
The Rage.
The Rage. Either you want to come out and play for the Rage, try out, not play. Come out and try out because I never make that mistake.
That's right.
You come out and try it. And if you do, you do. But this is the deal. There's no gimmies. You got to earn it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what I was waiting for you to say, and you held back a little bit saying that you're not going to ask anybody to come out and whatever. I did the same thing, Frank. So I'm jumping on you for something I didn't do when I was interviewed. Because I told people that you know me. I've been around GFA for years as well. If you want to play, I'm here. Coach James Simonson's here. Nick Parleni's here. This is what's going to happen this year. You know, and that's the way it is. But for people today to not be able to communicate crushes me. It's just like this thing about coaches don't meet anymore. Are you getting that there? The thing about this is you don't have face-to-face communication. You can't see them through their eyes. And that's how we do.
Right.
You know a truth. You know bullshit. You can hear bullshit, and you can knock
see it.
bullshit in the ass.
That's right.
Exactly.
Well,
this is how the communication of today is.
Think of it,
It's
Coach.
terrible.
think of it, it goes back, and you mentioned it a few minutes ago that it's about I, me, my, gimme, gimme, gimme. Well, what happened to and it's only quote unquote only, but only going back to the early '60s of ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country, okay, or your neighborhood, or your team, or your family, or your friends, or ... whomever else.
John, I like to hit it on a different perspective, and as much as I would like to agree 100%, the perspective I see is I was in law enforcement for 10 years, obviously in the Marine Corps, and now in the good old world of so-called sales. We kind of did this to ourselves, right?
Right.
We allowed
That's right.
a company like Amazon to come in as a internet book club, and now if in this 20 minutes that I've been on the phone, if I wanted X, Y, and Z, and then X, Y, and Z's baby brother, I can have that same day, next day, Prime membership, and I can have it.
Right.
That's why Toys R Us and the brick and mortar is gone.
Right.
Same goes with playing sports. If I'm a young kid nowadays and my face is jammed in, in a tablet or a video game console because there's so much. You said we can cuss on the radio, but
Go ahead.
There's so much shit out there in the world that I got to worry about my son being picked up.
Right. You're right.
In the front of the yard. And I don't want to sit out there for 4 hours in the summer heat or freeze to death and watch my son play, which is his God's given right, because I'm worried about the meanness in the world. So I say, all right, here's a tablet, and basically get out of my hair, so to speak. So we're doing this to ourselves. The NFL now, you don't have to show up to practice. We got a guy from the Pittsburgh Steelers that people are still talking about.
Yeah.
And he's making more money than all of us on this phone call.
Yes.
And he's not even doing anything but working out in, I think, Florida. And he tweeted as much just the other day. And we allowed that. And I'm the biggest football fan ever. Okay, but we're not doing anything to change the whole. And I think there's a lot of hypocrisy too. You got one of the greatest college football players I ever got to see, Tim Tebow, kneels when he scores a touchdown. When he scores a touchdown.
Yes.
And he is crucified because that is so outlandish. And oh, by the way, he's a terrible quarterback. Well, he's not a terrible quarterback. He's just not terrible. He's not ideal for the NFL, even though he won a playoff game. But I'll digress on that.
All he did was win.
And now it's become kind of the circus. And agree to disagree on the kneeling of that, that's a whole different conversation. But my point is, there's hypocrisy, and we do it to ourselves. Yesterday, we're allowing our emotions to run a little wild and vote a certain way. And again, red or blue, whatever, because of our disdain for certain people in politics, not because we think they're better or worse with or without that person. So we're allowing all this to happen, and we're kind of, when you can get your medicine in a drive-through or your donut in a drive-through, like, because we want that instant gratification.
Correct.
We don't want to work for it anymore. We want to have it yesterday. We want to have it at our fingertips. My kids don't even know what a card catalog is because they don't have that in public schools anymore because everything is digital.
Wow.
I mean, that's where we're at.
And
so, I mean, that's really about fun with it.
You're
going to be getting your groceries without people actually scanning your product now. Hence the self-checkout now, but eventually you're going to be driving up, and it's basically going to load everything into your car.
They're already doing that.
Well,
it's already on the West Coast. You can walk
they do
in.
Here. They do it here at
You grab the stuff off the shelf, and you just walk out.
Trader Joe's. They put it right in your car. You just come
Well,
up.
they're-
No, that's what he's
There
talking
it
about.
is.
He's talking about actually shopping and not going to the
It goes back
register.
to Coach's point about football, and it goes with your home life. Everything is now just convenience, and that's really the bottom. What is the easiest, quickest way to get that instant gratification? This is why there's less appreciation in the world, because I don't appreciate certain things because I can get it yesterday. I don't appreciate going out with my parents to get the toy because they get it for me. I don't
understand.
appreciate going to the grocery store 100 times and wanting a color book, and then that 101 time I was good, my mom's like, yeah, you can have the coloring book. No, because I get the coloring book tomorrow. Because all I got to do is whine a little bit, and I get the coloring book.
That's
right.
Right there, the fingertips of my parents.
Hey, real quick, I think
So-
we've got our third caller on the line. Can we join him in, Gene? All right.
Who's our third caller?
Hi, it's Jim Laverson.
Jim, how you doing, buddy?
What's up, brother?
Jim's a military guy too. Jim, tell us who you are, where you come from, where you served, that kind of good stuff. Just give us a general, quick, 30-second overhead.
Okay, I'm still in the Army Reserves. I'm a Command Sergeant Major. Currently out at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, preparing for a mobilization/deployment to Kuwait. Little background from Hazlitt. Frank and I have known each other since freshman year of 1983.
You're old.
Oh my! Kind of gave away some major information there, Jimbo.
Let's keep our secrets in the pocket there, Jim.
Yeah, you know more than I do, brother.
Well, thanks for calling. Thanks for your service.
Thanks.
What tell us what you think about this whole election versus military. I mean, it's Veterans Day, and we're trying to talk about veterans, but it all comes back to politics.
Your perspective on the overall demeanor as it pertains to you and what you do in the military.
Good question.
Thanks.
I guess at the end of the day, as still being active in the military, we have to do what the Commander-in-Chief says and wants us to do. If it's go time, it's go time. The Army's mission is to fight America's wars, and that's the number one priority. Just to piggyback on what Coach was saying and what you all said on the entitlement of people, there's individuals in the military that feel that they're entitled, but as my job as a Command Sergeant Major, I remind them that your entitlement is what I tell you, let you know what your entitlement is. You're in the military. The Army's not here for your convenience. If this shit's not convenient for anymore, you need to pack your shit and go home.
Exactly.
Hey, now.
They should do that in the NFL too.
Yeah, they should do that everywhere, including Congress and everywhere else.
Right.
Well,
That's where I think we start by fixing this country, is to get a little more discipline at every level, whether it be in school, whether it be sports. And that is like the biggest thing that we have issues with, is that there is no discipline. Kids go to school and shoot people because they're pissed off, instead of, when we were kids, so-and-so didn't get along, we had a little bit of a fist fight, and the next day we were friends.
Yeah.
Next day we went out and we were friends.
Yeah.
You weren't
Now
stabbing
it's, I'm going to go shoot up the school because, they made fun of me.
nobody
or
likes me.
whatever, right. It's just out of control. Need discipline. And it starts with the parents.
Well, I ask
Exactly.
people now, and I ask my own kids that. I'm like, look on your phone. Do you see an app that says discipline on there? No, you need to figure it out.
There
Not
should be an
everything's
app.
on your phone.
Exactly.
I'd like to start that app myself. Actually.
Maybe their phone shocks them every time they need a reminder of something,
That's a
We
good
can we can do that.
I could
Well,
definitely
I
write-
remind my I
sorry.
remind my
I'm
kids
sorry.
by just turning off the. I just remind my kids by turning off the data on their phone, and then I get plenty of phone calls saying,
Yeah.
"Dad, I love you." So
Oh, there you go.
That jump starts their conversation with you real quick, right?
Yep.
One-to-one
Yes, it
dialogue,
does.
isn't it great? Outstanding. Well,
Awesome.
gentlemen, we cannot thank you enough for dialing in, for phoning in, for checking in.
Your service.
And,
Yes.
yes, and above and beyond everything else, certainly your service in our Army and in our United States
Navy,
Marine
Air
Corps.
Force, Marines.
Yeah, what a great place to start. I mean,
National Guard,
National
yeah.
Guard.
Coast Guard.
Coast
Yeah.
Guard.
And the upcoming, the upcoming Space Force.
That's right. Space
you
Force
dig
is
it?
coming.
Space
Man, I wish I was 19 again. I'd be all over that like a cheap suit in a rainstorm. Oh,
Bring on them aliens.
yeah. But thank you, fellas, so much. Jim, Chris, Coach.
Does anybody, before you
Yeah.
hang up, does anybody want to plug anything? Anything they want to plug before they go? Because that's what we're here for.
Chris, here we go. Let's hear about that podcast.
Yeah.
All about it one more time, please.
Or not?
Oh,
Oh,
Hello?
maybe
Hello?
Chris. Chris, you still
Chris,
there?
you still there?
Oh, Chris is
I'm
gone.
going to say no.
Well, Chris has a
Plug it up.
podcast called Head to Head, and it's dedicated to veterans. They cover a lot of things. about helping veterans through a lot of the hard times and dealing with society once they get back from serving and once they get back from being overseas. So himself and his partner Scott Jellyman, not partner like partner, but like his,
we got
friend, Scott Jellyman.
that we even have to do that.
I don't
nowadays
know.
Right.
Drives
Well,
me nuts.
I don't know. I wasn't sure.
Which kind of partner?
I wasn't
No.
sure about that. But yeah, so they're it's a podcast. It's called Head to Head. You can actually Google it, and you can find it on a lot of different platforms. So
Outstanding.
just listen to it.
I'm all over it. You've been all over it.
I'm
Correct?
all over it.
Yeah.
And you
I'm
know
all
what?
over it.
I think we're going to have more people going to be all over it. Head to Head. Find it on the Google, as it were.
Thank you, Coach. And what?
Jim.
Jim.
Jim, you
Jim,
still
what-
there?
Yeah.
Wait, what's Jim's rank?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Command Sergeant Major.
Command
He's-
Sergeant. So how is he addressed from a civilian standpoint? Would it be a sergeant or is it Command Sergeant Major? Do you say the whole thing?
Yeah, I never thought about that, Jim.
Command-
Yeah. Yeah, you say the whole thing.
You can say there's two ways. You can say Command Sergeant Major, or you can just say CSM.
CSM. I like
CSM.
Command Sergeant Major better.
You
I'll
just
stick
do
with
what
that.
I did when I was in the military. Just avoid them. You see them walking, you go the other way.
Yeah, there you go.
If you're not noticed, you're not going to get in trouble. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Listen, I want to give a shout out. Just say this. It's been a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to talk to all of you. Frank,
you, Coach.
John, we go back way, and a lot of respect. Tracy,
Yes.
someday we'll maybe meet.
Yes. I'd love to meet you, Coach.
But I'm just going to say this. I'm truly blessed with what I've gone through in my lifetime. Good, bad, ugly,
Chris got
I'm
disconnected.
not too good with that side, but I'm truly blessed, and I'm blessed to have these guys in my life, and you guys take care.
Thanks,
Coach. Hope to
Feel-
see you soon, buddy.
Feelings absolutely mutual. It's been a blessing from the first time I walked into that pub down from Myers High School in Wilkes-Barre for a interest meeting for the Wilkes-Barre Blaze back in 2000 up to now. It's been it's been a privilege. It really has. It really has.
Hey, John, you were a little surprised that day when you started talking to me.
A little bit.
What do you mean, scared or surprised?
Yes.
Which one are we going with?
To paraphrase or to quote Forrest Gump, maybe both was happening, I think.
Happening.
Coach, I hope we get to see you during the season this spring.
Yes.
Well, Frank, stay in touch with me and let me know how you guys are doing, what's going on. You want to talk, anything, let me know.
Yeah, for sure. And then when we figure out what our schedule is, hopefully we can get in touch with you and try and meet you up at a game. Maybe you can stop by and we'll talk.
Absolutely.
Julio.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
I love
Thank
it.
Y'all
you
take
very
care.
much. You too. Thank you,
Coach.
guys.
Thank you, folks.
so
I
much.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
We lost. Chris got disconnected.
Gotcha.
He actually texted me and said he got disconnected. No, it's all right. We're done. I mean, we're not done.
That's real nice. Nope, sorry.
Wow.
I didn't mean it that
His
way.
loss. Get out.
No, I didn't mean it that way.
She just curdled
Wow.
with
No,
that.
no,
Did
no,
you
no,
hear
no.
that?
No, 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 no.
Dismissed.
That's not
What
what I
up,
meant.
Clink?
I see nothing.
What I was going to say is I texted him and I let him know that we were actually hanging up with the other callers and that I had plugged his show for him, and that's we already.
But don't call back.
Wow. Holy
you
crap.
can call back.
Oh,
Right.
Oh, now you're making me feel guilty.
apparently not.
You're not
And
making me feel
done.
guilty. You can
Mic
call
drop.
back if you
Shut
want.
it down.
That should go by. Wow.
All right, well, we got a few more minutes.
I tell you what, good things and good perspectives from folks who literally have been or still are. They've been there and done that and or still doing it. From a military standpoint, it's just without getting into any detail. I know that Coach has had his difficulties post active military career. And he continues to struggle with some things, but you won't ever hear him gripe and beef and carry on about it. But you just I know what's going on, but you know what? That's the mettle, METTLE, the mettle of the man right there, and he's the man who has plenty of it, and I mean it in a fantastically good way. And I know that there are just thousands upon thousands upon thousands of other people of the same ilk, and that's what it's all about. Again,
most veterans are that way.
Well, hello,
And that's one of the issues with veterans that are coming home with, and I'm sure Head to Head deals with that.
Yeah.
Is that they keep it inside and they put up a good front and they deal with life, and in the background there's all these issues that they have to deal with, but they don't want to involve anybody else because my personal opinion is that you as a veteran, as a military person, you don't want to put that bearing onto somebody else, whether it be your spouse, whether it be your kids, whether it be your friends, whatever. You think it's your problem. I'll take care of it. You have enough to worry about. I'm here to take care of you, and that's how you live your life. And that's the things we got to fix with some of our veterans, is that we have to help them not to do that, and to understand that it's okay, and to do it in the right formats and the right places and things like that.
And just know they have somewhere to go.
Yes.
And that's the main thing.
Yep.
And I think it's really important to recognize not only our veterans that lost their lives serving, but also the ones that come home and have lost their lives either by having severe PTSD or taking their own lives, or encountering violence after the fact, because it does carry with you, does it not? I mean, you go through these horrendous things, you see so much, and then you come home, and it's almost the adjustment period must be difficult.
It is, and part of that, and I've touched on this in other shows in the past, is that you have this PTSD and you think that PTSD is this, and there's all these other things that it is, but you don't relate it and put it all together. Right. This thing that I do, I don't sleep. Oh, it's normal. I just don't sleep. No, it's part of your PTSD. Right. But it takes you so long to figure out all these things, because you talk to people eventually and you're like, oh, well, nobody does that except for people with PTSD, and I think that that's part of the recognition of what it is to the person.
Right.
Until they can recognize the things that they think are normal are not, then that's when they'll get their help, and they'll get the things that they're having done to them fixed.
Well, and it all stems, to me, in a significant way. It all stems back to, these are people who either have or are asking not what their country, back to JFK again, can do for them, but they're asking what they can do for their country, whether it's one thing or another. Now, to me, that's going half the way, because when active duty time is done, then it's time, to me, it's time for our country, to ask what we, small w, meaning collectively, can do for those who have served. And I don't know that that's being figured out well, if at all, in some places. And that's why you've got two regular guys, like our friend Chris Jackson we just heard from, and our other friend involved with this, Scott Jellyman, putting together these initiatives like Head to Head on a podcast. Because why? Because it's not being successfully or completely dealt with across the board by those who should be dealing with it.
Right.
Thank God for the Chris's and Scotts of the world, and for the Head to Head podcasts and things like that of the world from regular guys.
Yeah.
Because you see a need, you fill a need.
Right.
You see a friend, you be a friend.
That's right.
It's as simple as that. You may not know that person, but they're your friend.
I'm going to tell you, there's so by my house there's a lake. It's a big, big lake. I walk it every single morning with my dog, and you see different people walking it every morning with their pets or just having a walk. And there's a gentleman, and I don't even know his name. And one day I will ask him his name. But for the past 2 years, I've seen this man every single morning.
Wow.
And I know he's a war vet because he always wears a hat with the emblem for the war in which he served. Right. And I'd say the man, I'd say he's probably in his late 70s, early 80s, perhaps. And he's the nicest man, and I see him every day. And in the beginning, I would just walk by him, And I looked at his hat and I said, now here's a man who probably served my country, in which I live, and we are free because he's one of the men because of that.
Right.
And I thought, I'm going to talk to him. I'm going to, whatever I say, I don't know what I'm going to say. But, here's a man, you don't know how much longer on earth he has. And I'm sure he's seen a lot. I'm sure I could learn from him. So, I started just saying, good morning. Good morning. How are you? And now we have banter. I still don't know his name. It will come. But now for about 2 years
Building it up
now,
slowly.
Building it up slowly.
Hey.
Well, we walk by. At first it was just a hello, hello, hello. And it's like, how do you... So then, whoa, this weather. And then comes the weather.
How about those
Exactly.
Jets?
Yeah.
No, don't say that.
Yeah. Well, he's just so sweet, And then I had my dog. My dog had a little, after the Red Sox won the World Series, my dog had a bandana that said Red Sox. And he was like, I'm glad they won. I said, really? He says, yeah. He goes, I don't like the Yankees. He says, I'm a Mets fan. I'm a Mets fan.
there you
I
go.
said,
He's a
"Oh,
There it is.
Lovely man.
Veteran and a Mets fan. Perfect.
Yeah. But I see him every day, and I think to myself, it's kind of one of those things, when you see somebody and they've served, say hello and say good morning and say have a nice day, because that can go a long way. You think
For
it doesn't
sure.
mean anything, but
It does.
I know it does. And no one, I'm sure 100 people pass him every day and say nothing. And I said, I don't want to be one of those people.
Mother and Dad for a while used to like to go out to Perkins up on 18 in East Brunswick, New Jersey. So, I get home from work, this is probably 6 years ago now, and, hey, let's go to Perkins. Okay, Dad. Yes, that sounds lovely. And we would go. Okay. From here to like 10 feet away, we were sitting at a table in the middle of the room, and in a booth was a gentleman, and forgive me, I can't remember if it was a Korea ball cap or a Vietnam ball cap. Doesn't matter, because I'm seeing this guy at about 11 o'clock out of the corner of my eye the whole time we're sitting and eating. Nothing special, again, regular guy. But I'm seeing his hat. He put it next to him on the booth seat right out by the aisle, so I couldn't miss it, basically. And when we were done, there go Mother and Dad doddering up to the place to pay. I went the other way, and I just said, "Excuse me, sir." Yes. Couldn't help but notice your cap there. I wanted to stop over quick and just say hello and thank you.
Thank you.
And he looked at me like, "Whoa."
Yeah.
It means a lot.
It does.
And that's all. I mean, it was a 7-second moment. That's it. But I like to hope that it was a 7-second moment that he is gonna recall for whatever reason
Right.
until the end of his time.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important to just recognize everyone who serves.
I agree.
No, whether you're a civilian or whatever, you should always do that.
Before we go, I want to touch on two things. One, Jimmy just texted me and said thank you for letting him be on the show.
Oh, please.
You're
thank
welcome,
you.
Jimmy.
Absolutely.
The other thing I wanted to touch base on was something that you said earlier about I hope I get it, understanding the veteran.
As much as I can, yeah.
This is how I'll describe it to you. Being a part of a team organization and being a coach is, as a player, right? When you were a player,
Right.
the person next to you, left, right, behind you, in front of you, whatever the case may be, they were your teammates, black, white, Chinese, whatever, right? That's
Didn't
your
care.
teammate.
I never
As
cared.
long as that guy's doing his job and this guy's doing his job and that guy's doing that job and we're all good as a team, that's what matters,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
That's how the military is, right? You want to make sure that when bullets are flying, the guys to your left and right or wherever are doing their part, and you have confidence that you don't have to worry about it. You don't care what color they are. You don't care if they're Democrat or Republican. You don't care.
Nope.
Right.
I want to care that we all get home to our families and we do what we need to do and get it done and get home.
Right.
Football's the same way, right? So if you take that concept and understand it as far as football, it's the same thing as military, just the military is a little bit higher on the
hell of a
list
lot.
of whether I'm coming home or not.
Hell of a lot higher.
Compared to a win or loss, you know what I mean?
Oh, my
But
goodness,
the
yes.
team
kind of thing,
camaraderie,
the
the
team
team-
concept, understanding that we need to win this game and we can't do it unless we are a team. And I don't care if you're the best player and you're black and I don't like black people, it doesn't matter. You're the best player,
Right.
period. I don't care what you are.
Right.
And that's how you got to live life, not just in the military, but in our country. And that's the problem.
Well,
You know?
Yeah.
And so you get it. I
yeah.
know you get it, and I just wanted to make sure that I clarify that you
without a
understood
doubt.
that.
And I've been part of teams as recently as 18 years ago, to where we were not a good team. Again, that 2000 Wilkes-Barre Blaze, we had some great guys on there, but we went 2-8, and we beat the same team home and away that year. But we had that camaraderie. The guys who were just not glory hounds and showed up on game day, forget them. But the guys who were there on the Tuesday, Thursday practices, who were there since the spring, and the summer season goes from July to September, who were all the way through it. The last game up in Kingston, New York, before the game, I'm like, whoa, blew me away, and I had a moment too. One of the guys who played for us, who played on the New York, New Jersey Knights of the old World League of American Football, he was like, listen, I don't know what's going to happen after this year, because we had some issues in the front office, so to say. And he got all emotional. He got upset. I mean, and he didn't hide it.
Right.
Did not.
Right.
Because it was real.
Yeah.
Real town, kids. That's what it's all about.
Agreed.
All right.
Right.
Is that our show?
You know what? 6:33, 61 minutes, 5:30-ish to 6:30-ish, like we always say. At least I always say. Good stuff, folks. We really appreciate Coach Evans. Really appreciate your friend
Jimmy.
Jim.
Yeah.
And we really
And
appreciate
Chris Jackson.
and Scott Jellyman, as well on the Head-to-Head podcast.
Yep.
Look it up. As my father would say, well, open the
two
Google.
It's the number 2. Head
to
Yep.
Yeah, and his dad says, open the Google and have a look. Okay, Dad.
Open the Google.
Open the Google. And
Don't need internet to open the Google.
Yeah, if you go on the interwebs there, I think, what did I call the intranet? What somebody said? Yes, Dad. Get online. Number 2, Head-to-Head. Look it up. Check it out. You or someone you know may very well stand to benefit big time from information and from actual movement.
And if you know a veteran, just mention it to them.
Yeah.
Because you may not know that they need help, but if you mention it to them, it might drive them to go there and at least take a peek and start the process. But if you say, hey, this guy's good, he's fine, I don't need to tell him about it. No, he probably needs it. So just be aware. Be aware that if you just mention about the site to them, Head-to-Head, take a look at it. It's for veterans.
Yeah.
And they go there, maybe they go, oh, yeah, you know what? Maybe I do need some help.
Real chit-chatty, like, hey, I know you served in that fill in the blank, in the Navy. Why don't you have a look at this Head-to-Head thing? Look, again, open the Google. Yes, Dad. Look at it. And Head, number 2, Head. And that's it. Just, I know you're in the military, were, whatever, or know somebody, and all of a sudden, there they are, doing good things. Worthwhile work, worthwhile things. You know what? Not literally, but with something like this, or even in life in general, there's a saying I heard probably 20 years ago: have fun, do good things. Chris and Scott are enjoying doing this podcast, okay? And it's doing good things.
Good things.
Good things.
And amen. Folks, that's our show for
That's
today.
it.
We hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you, veterans. We love you.
Yes, we do. Big time. We're back next week with the mid-month hoo-ha. Yeah, that's what we'll call it. Who knows what's going to... We're like the Seinfeld of radio programs. It's a show about nothing most of the time. Tonight, we really had something. Thanks for joining us. For Tracy, for Frank, I'm John, and this is Real Town with Tracy, John, and Frank.
That's us.
Peace. We out.
Bye.